Thanks for staying with us here. We have finished the match. It's a draw between Huddersfield and Manchester United. Before we talk about the game, we have to mention Chelsea's result, 3-0. Well, the race is on for the Champions League, but it's not going to involve Manchester United.
No, it isn't. I mean, I felt they let the game get away from them. I thought it was there. If they'd approached it the same way they did in the first 10 minutes when Huddersfield were there for the taking, you may well have got something out of this game. But at the end of the day, it's too little too late in any case.
And Chelsea just showing the maturity to see out the rest of the season and trying to hold the future in their own hands.
Yeah, 100%. And I go back to what I said last week when we were talking, is that for Manchester United to have made the Champions League, it would have been a huge bonus from where Solskjaer took over from. And a lot of people may disagree, but I don't believe that it's the most important thing for United at the moment. It can end up papering over the cracks. The most important thing is in the summer. They have to start again. It's going to be a rebuild. There has to be time. And there's going to be a huge turnaround. You know, David was talking about the fact of Manchester City and Liverpool have this identity. United don't have an identity. That's what Solskjaer's got to discover in the summer, and that means that he has to be given the finances that are needed to bring in players that are required.
Talk me through identity and philosophy, etc., because it's often harking back to Sir Alex's days and how Manchester United played, the Manchester United way. Is that still applicable now? What is the Manchester United way? What should they be playing?
Well, they keep referring it to as his DNA, but in reality, it's just something that a manager put in place over 25 years that worked for them and they stuck with. Guardiola has an identity. You can see it with Barcelona, you can see it with Bayern Munich, you can see it with Man City. He's able to come in and implement that, but he's able to do it because he can get the players in that fit the way he wants to play football. This Manchester United side is a mishmash of probably 3 or 4 different managers, players, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is stuck with it.
Yeah, continuity brings identity. So you look at Guardiola, you look at Klopp. Klopp first comes into the football club at Liverpool, didn't sign anybody in January. He wanted to see who could go on the journey with him. You know, Solskjaer, like Dave just quite rightly said, he's got players from Sir Alex Ferguson, players from David Moyes, players from Mourinho, players for Van Gaal. Now, they all played 4 different ways. He needs to be able to bring his own group of players in. It will be, at the moment, it won't seem like it, but what's happened in recent weeks will be a blessing in disguise for Solskjaer, because there will be players that have bought their way into how he wants to play and players that have drifted to the wayside. But in the summer, like I say, there's been too many quick fixes for United recently, signing older players. And when you sign older players, you can't get longevity from them for 6 or 7 or 8 years like Liverpool and Manchester City will do.
Since he's taken over the last 4 or 5 months, however long it is precisely, who has stepped up to play the Manchester United way, to play the Solskjaer way?
Say again, who do I believe?
Yeah, on the team.
I think when
today's performance.
When you look at, I think it's more important to actually look at positions that he'll probably want to fill in, because there are players that will still be at the football club next season, maybe squad players, maybe on the periphery. But if you're looking at it, you're only as strong as the spine of your team. There's no doubt about it. And I think what Manchester United need, they need that organiser at the back that can step out with the ball. You know, Van Dijk, he's an organiser, but he can step out with the ball. Laporte, company, players like that step out with the ball. That's what United are really missing at the moment, because when you play against a team that are going to sit back, you have to try and get them to come out. And in order to do that, you need a centre-back that's going to step out. If you're going to play with dynamism, energy, you need that in midfield as well. And that's one of the things I think Solskjaer will be looking at. He'll be looking at key areas, but he'll also looking at bringing younger players in, energetic players, dynamic players that can play all around the pitch, because that's how he wants to play. He wants to go front to back quick. That's not saying he wants to play long ball, and then he wants to be able to recover quickly.
Is that the so-called Manchester United way? When you were at the club, was it ingrained in you to play a certain way?
Of course it was, but I think we get carried away with the Manchester United way, the West Ham way. If you talk about the Manchester United way under Sir Alex Ferguson, it's impossible now. I can probably name you 5 natural wingers, if that, on one hand. Wingers don't exist. We were talking about it up there. Wingers are fullbacks now.
Yeah, 2 up front even in the early days. You know, you don't get that anymore. Your wingers are, you know, your fullbacks are your wingers. You have one man through the middle, generally speaking, and that's modern day football. And I'm sorry to say, Man U are a mile away from it at the moment.
A mile away?
Oh, at least.
Who do you think from this team has been playing the Solskjaer way? Who's been buying into the way he wants to play? Who will be deserving of a starting spot come August next season?
Oh, out there today, I like what I saw from McTominay, but I don't see how Manchester United can put all their apples on McTominay to carry this team. They need people around it. On the face of it, the spine, all right, De Gea, bit of an off-season, but Lindelof, Pogba, Rashford, that's not the worst spine I've ever seen in the world, but it's not working. And the players out to either side of them aren't strong enough.
Well, why isn't it working?
I think, like I say, I think it's a mishmash of players from 3 or 4 different managers. I think there's an age problem. I think when I see Manchester United play, there seems to be a lot of confusion about, am I supposed to be there? Am I supposed to be here? Can I rely on the player next to me doing what I think he's going to do? There just seems to be a confusion, whereas if you watch Man City and Liverpool, it's coherent. I know what I've got to do, but I also know what Danny's going to do and the other players. I know what everyone around me is going to do at any given time.
Can I just ask then, how long does it take for a manager to implement what he wants to do? Or let's say you join a club, you go to Stoke or you go to Stoke. Does it take that long for you to understand what a manager wants?
Yeah, because I think what you've got to do, you've got to look at transfer windows. And I think, first of all, the manager needs to be given time to bring the players in that he wants, but then to get his message across. Of course, it can take a little bit of time, because if he hasn't got the players, now what we get sometimes confused with when we talk about, is he a good player, is he a bad player? It doesn't necessarily say that a player is good or bad because he doesn't fit into a football club. He just doesn't fit into the way that team is asked to play, and that's the biggest thing. Is bringing players in that are perfect for the way that Solskjaer wants to play.
Aaron Moy cost 10 million. Well, he's rising up to 10 million. Manchester United have spent about £700 million since Sir Alex Ferguson left. Sure, you can't say it's about having the right players, it's about transfer windows. On paper, United should have won comfortably here today.
Of course they should, but over the years there's been too many quick fixes. There's been too many quick fixes where you're bringing in. Ibrahimovic came to a football club and he was absolutely magnificent. He was different class, but he was never going to be long term. Where you look at Manchester City, they signed Bernardo Silva. You're going to get longevity from him. They're bringing in younger players. Van Dijk, you're going to get quite a few years from him, and that's what you've got to do. Bring a team that can grow together.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, I look at, and this is the other thing as well. Trying to find a player who can just do you a job for a season. What I like about Klopp, really, and Guardiola, but especially about Klopp, he needed a centre half. 70 million quid on Van Dijk. And everyone said that's a lot of money, and the proof is in the pudding. And it's not just Van Dijk, it's what Van Dijk has done to Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, Gomez, all these kids around him who look at Van Dijk and now can go out and play their natural game. And they don't have to worry about what's behind them. He ensures he's a great player in his own right. What he's done to 5 or 6 Liverpool players around him is worth its weight in gold. And no one ever says anything about that. I look at the Man United team, they haven't got that anywhere. Nowhere on the pitch have they got that.
What kind of players and what kind of club should Manchester United be looking at buying from? Because a lot of big names are linked. Rafael Varane, etc., World Cup winners. Should they be targeting those players? Or, as Danny says here, looking at players who perhaps aren't quite the finished product, but are young, hungry, and able to achieve more?
Well, I like the players who are, look, first and foremost, Manchester United are going to want to be in the Champions League next season. They're going to want to sign players who are capable of getting them there. That's a basic, okay? I don't think they're going to want to break their wage structure like they have with Sanchez. I think that was a mistake. I think they're going to want to bring in players who are young, hungry, on a sensible wage, who have got something to prove. You know, but it's difficult because the pool narrows. You've got Real Madrid now, you've got PSG, these clubs that have overtaken United, Liverpool and City, even Spurs. They're all competing now against Manchester United when there was a time when Manchester United really only competed against 2 or 3 clubs in the world.
Is the scouting network good enough in that case? Because we had this discussion off air, so I'm going to bring it up here. You look at Manchester City, the players they've bought, where they've come from. You look at Liverpool, the same thing. You're mentioning Van Dijk. Southampton aren't a Champions League team, all due respect, but they're not. But Van Dijk came from there. I know for a lot of money.
But it's everybody singing off the same hymn sheet. So if you go back to Sir Alex Ferguson, all the scouts that were in place were finding players that fitted his identity. So a scout would go to Sir Alex Ferguson more than likely and say, right, okay, what type of player are you looking for? They knew exactly, right, okay, it's this type, okay, we'll bring him in, but that isn't in place at United now because they've had so much chopping and changing as in terms of managers, it becomes a problem. Now, as David said about Klopp, I'll talk about Guardiola as well, because people talk about Guardiola and say, well, he's only good with money. Well, hang on a second. When he came to the football club, David Silva was there, De Bruyne was there, Company was there, Fernandinho, Aguero. He's improved all of them. And they were all unbelievable players then, but he's taken them onto another level as well. So it's going to be absolutely vital. The one thing with Solskjaer, he won't be afraid to give young players a go. You know, we've seen today, obviously McTominay, Chong came in, you've got Garner as well, you've got Greenwood, so he will not be afraid to give youngsters the opportunity.
Yeah. And I personally, I think as well, a good example of how broken the network is at Manchester United and the structure is if you look in the Premier League in general and you look at perhaps Spurs and you look at Liverpool and even City, there isn't a single player in this league that Manchester United could not have signed at one time or another. Dele Alli, if they wanted him, £5 million, they could have had him. They could have had Sane, they could have had Gabriel Jesus, they could have had anybody that anybody else has signed in this league, and they haven't, and they've gone down the wrong road, and this is a result.
Really?
Yeah, I totally believe it. There is Manchester United have got the biggest checkbook. Forget City, they've got the biggest checkbook in the Premier League, probably in world football. And systematically, they have kept messing it up in the transfer window. And the danger is, you've now got the same guy again in charge of those purse strings this summer. And there's nothing to suggest really that it's going to be any different.